Good evening. We begin tonight with an unprecedented catastrophe developing across Australia and around the world, which is being labelled the biggest IT outage ever. Airports, banks, supermarkets, healthcare, government services and news organisations all affected. It happened suddenly and without warning, causing chaos as it impacts every aspect of our lives.
Utter confusion at airports across the country. The only notable arrival, a global tech outage bringing computer systems to their knees.
We've checked in online, but we haven't been able to get through.
All the kiosks were down, like online check-in was down, so just been waiting here and going to see what happens.
The planes may be able to fly, but the check-in system's grounded.
Check-in and departure system is still offline.
This was the moment Sky News was taken off air.
Part of what he had to say.
Fuzzy screens as the international blackout spread down under.
This is probably the biggest outage of computer systems globally that we've ever seen. If we think about the scale of the Optus outage just last year, this is that globally.
Cabbies in the street, left in the lurch, all communications down.
I noticed thing around 3:55. I'm getting in on the tunnel with the full coverage. As soon as I go out, there's nothing happening.
Shoppers queued at the checkout, hit and miss if the register was working. Some supermarkets closing their doors altogether.
I think about 10% of them are working, maybe. Queue's quite long, and they've started telling people as they go in now that they're probably going to be waiting quite a while, I think. So, yeah. Cash is king, I guess.
The online takedown didn't discriminate. Among those having issues, banks including NAB, Commonwealth, Westpac and ANZ, just to name a few. Government services, Centrelink and Australia Post, Telstra, even the National Broadband Network. What's being described as the blue screen of death, effectively locking people out of their computers. In the picture, cybersecurity company CrowdStrike, who, in their own words, secure the most critical areas of risk and stop breaches.
With CrowdStrike, you get AI and industry-leading intelligence that keep you ahead of modern adversaries.
So once CrowdStrike comes back online, those computers, when rebooted, will probably work just fine.
The National Cybersecurity Coordinator blaming a technical issue as opposed to a hack. After 3 hours of mayhem, sanity and systems are tonight slowly coming back online. Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
So our tech expert Trevor Long joins me now at the desk. Trevor, the scope of this, as we know, is massive. In a nutshell, just elaborate on what's happened.
This is a third-party software company that is meant to provide security services to big business, and that stops those businesses becoming vulnerable to attacks like Medibank and Optus were. So basically that company's had an outage and all the computers associated with those companies are not working. Whether that's a check-in at an airport or the retail services at a supermarket, they simply won't work because they don't feel, the computer doesn't feel it's secure enough because its security system has disappeared.
OK. We just heard in that report that some systems are now rebooting, but the effects could linger for some time, couldn't they?
Yeah, my information is CrowdStrike has found a fix, but whether they've deployed that or not is yet to be determined. But what's happening is IT departments around the world are finding a way around this and bringing systems back online. It may not still be many hours before we see true resolution to this problem.
Obviously, businesses have IT departments, individuals at home don't. Is there anything we should be doing?
I think the great news is this won't affect individuals at home on your home computer. But of course, when you go to the shops, the service station and other places, that's where you're going to see the effects. But on our own computers, we don't need to do anything. But a small business owner who's a victim of this simply has to wait for this to be resolved.
The repercussions of this are going to be huge, aren't they?
Contracts for companies like this include downtime. They know things won't always be right. So we may not have breached past that point of no return for them yet, but companies that are financially affected, I would suspect, will go down the litigation path here to try and recover their losses. This will be millions and millions of dollars in Australia alone, let alone the global impact of this. For a publicly listed company like CrowdStrike, this could be quite damaging.
We greatly value your insight, Trevor.
Pleasure,
Thank you
Georgie.
so much. Well, we have reporters around the city tonight to explain the impact of this cyber outage. Let's go first to Erin Ramsey, who's at Sydney Airport. Erin, what can you tell us? Are flights delayed or cancelled?
Well, Georgie, there's still a lot of confusion here at the domestic terminal, but staff are now starting to inform passengers to expect cancellations or delays. Up until about an hour ago, the screens behind me with flight information were completely blank. It appears the airport system is now back up and running, but the problem is that Jetstar's personal system is still down, which means that passengers cannot check in their luggage and go through security at this stage. It means crowds are absolutely banking up. We're packed in like sardines. You can barely move at the moment, Georgie. People have been waiting in line for hours, 2.5 to 3 hours since this afternoon, still unsure exactly what to expect. Jetstar is telling people to leave extra time if they are coming to the airport to check in tonight, but there is still a lot of question marks over when this system will be up and running, and this will definitely have a flow-on effect for flights right across the country and the world. Georgie?
OK, Erin Ramsey, thank you for that. Let's now go to reporter Elizabeth Bryan, who joins us from Crow's Nest on the North Shore of Sydney. Lizzie, major supermarkets have had to close.
Georgie, it's a bit of a game of chance heading to your local supermarket tonight. I'm here at Coles in Crow's Nest, whose doors are open, but customers here are having to wait quite some time to access the few checkouts that are still working, and scenes that are typical right across the country right now. Of course, other major retailers are being hit, from Bunnings to 7-Eleven to the major banks. NAB putting out a statement saying it's having issues with its payment services tonight. This outage is certainly not differentiating between the biggest corporations and even some independent small retailers, who many of whom are telling us are being forced to close their doors early tonight as well.
Lizzie Bryan, thank you. Reporter James Wilson joins us now from North Sydney. James, we understand an IT issue at a cybersecurity software company is believed to be the cause. What more can you tell us?
That's right, Georgie. As Trevor mentioned before, this outage relates to cybersecurity software company CrowdStrike, which is essentially a third-party company used by many, many businesses and agencies globally to prevent them from being victims to cyber attacks, hackers, and it's also a monitoring system. Now, we understand this afternoon CrowdStrike ran an update on their monitoring systems, which, to put it simply, did not gel well with many Microsoft Windows operating systems around the globe. We saw that blue screen of death flickering, the computers crashing and trying to reboot seemingly in a sporadically manner. That was seen in Australia, New Zealand, India and of course the US. Now, we have heard recently from the Australian cybersecurity coordinator who has confirmed this issue and does believe that the CrowdStrike system is to blame. They also reiterated, though, that at this point there is no information to suggest it is a cyber security incident. Georgie, we are yet to hear publicly from CrowdStrike. Right now, we are at their North Sydney office here in Sydney. We've reached out for comment but haven't heard anything. Obviously, operators here would be frantically busy trying to flesh out this issue so these systems can get back online tonight. Georgie.
We will stay across it, James. Thank you very much for that update. The federal government says a national coordination group will meet tonight to assess the impact of the cyber outage on government and private services. Let's go now to our National Affairs editor, Andrew Probyn. Andrew, what more can you tell us about the government's response to this?
Well, Georgie, as we've heard, the National Cyber Security Coordinator, Michelle McGuinness, she's been saying there is no information to suggest this widespread computer crash has been caused by a cyber hack and that it's related to this third-party software. This is in reference to that US cybersecurity company CrowdStrike, where the problem started. The government says Centrelink and Medicare systems appear to be unaffected and O is working fine, according to the Communication Minister's office. But there are reports that some hospital diagnostic services may be affected. The government says a national emergency mechanism group will meet shortly to discuss this problem. On that group, we've got major supermarket chains, telcos, banks, airlines and energy providers. So we're expecting an update later tonight, Georgie.
Andrew Probyn, thank you.